Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Detective Sergeant Dana Coston, C-O-S-T-O-N. I'm the Cape Coral Police Department's Public Affairs Officer. I wanted to meet with you briefly and give you the most recent update regarding the hit-and-run fatality crash investigation that Cape Coral is currently undertaking. This afternoon, I was notified by our major crash investigator, Corporal Andrew Satterley, that an arrest had been made regarding the traffic fatality that happened yesterday afternoon at 2607 Del Prado Boulevard South. A subject by the name of Gerald Gray, black male, date of birth 5/5 of 1960, has been arrested in the hit-and-run crash that killed one person yesterday afternoon here at Cape Coral. Corporal Satterley gave me some of the facts surrounding the apprehension today, and let me first start by saying that this never could have happened without the cooperation of our partners in the media and members of the public. This arrest is due in no small part to the tremendous coverage you all provided and citizens being willing to do what was necessary to bring this person to justice. This morning, Corporal Satterley received a telephone call from CCPD dispatch advising that a subject called into the station with a tip regarding a possible location of the suspect vehicle from yesterday's crash. And this was about 8:45 a.m. Corporal Satterley went to a residence in Fort Myers following up on this tip at 4641 Gibson Circle. Apparently, the way this unfolded was one of the persons that watched your coverage yesterday was a Lee County toll worker. Lee County toll worker took it upon themselves to go through yesterday's inbound traffic footage and go lane by lane looking for a blue Dodge pickup truck with a silver ladder in the bed. And that worker was able to locate not only the truck, but was also able to get us a tag number. That tag led us to the address where Corporal Satterley responded this morning, and he was able to locate a vehicle matching that description, which had physical and forensic evidence still in place that linked that vehicle to the investigation. While there at the scene, Corporal Satterley made contact with a subject that matched the description of the driver that was provided yesterday. And in doing so, spoke with that person at length, and that person was identified as Gerald Gray. Mr. Gray has been cooperative with Corporal Satterley from the beginning, and he came up to the Cape Coral Police Department on his own free will and has been cooperative ever since. At 2:59 p.m., he was taken into custody here at the Cape Coral Police Department. His charges are as follows: leaving the scene of an accident causing death, and driving while license suspended. He's currently being processed here at the Cape Coral Police Department and will be transported sometime later this evening over to the Lee County Jail. So while I don't want to spend this evening spiking the ball on the success of the story, I did want to take a moment, again, to thank members of the media and members of the public for taking such an interest in this case and enabling us to do the job that we've done today. Our thoughts today are with the victim and the victim's family, and that's where we want to kind of keep the focus right now. So with that, I'll open it up to a couple of questions and let you guys get back to your broadcasts.
Was he under the influence?
This afternoon, or today when he was arrested, I haven't.
No. Do you know if this was, I know there have been a lot of hit and run, not incidents, but just, we talked about this earlier, how impaired driving has affected a lot of crashes in Cape Coral.
About 80% of our traffic fatalities here in Cape Coral in 2015 have been attributable to impaired driving. However, I don't have any information that would lead me to believe that Mr. Gray was impaired at the time of the crash.
It's disappointing and all that he was never even supposed to be on the road in the first place, and yet here you have someone causing potentially a death of a senior citizen with a suspended license.
It is, when you see a suspension of a driver's license, and that can be for any number of reasons, it is your hope that you're going to get voluntary compliance. Unfortunately, we do see that sometimes is not the case, and in this case here in particular, if we'd have had voluntary compliance, it's quite possible this incident never would have happened.
You said he was cooperative. Did he mention at all show sorrow, sadness for what he did? Did he mention that he was scared and that's why he ran?
I wouldn't be able to address his emotional state or any specific comments that he made other than to say that he's been cooperative with investigators today.
Could there be any other charges forthcoming in this besides what you already listed?
To my knowledge, this is going to be the only charges in this case. If something changes, we'll issue an update and update you all as to what those charges might be. Nothing else?
Can you speak about the effort that the toll worker put in looking through the video?
Sure. When you have a multi-lane toll road like the Midpoint Bridge coming into and going out of Cape Coral, you're talking about tens of thousands of cars on a daily basis over the span of several hours. Not knowing when this person goes to work or comes into Cape Coral to do work, that person or that worker took a lot of initiative and have spent a lot of time tracking this information down based just on the photos that we released and that they saw online and on the media, and took a lot of their own effort in helping us solve this case. Corporal Satterley, when he spoke with me, could not be more positive as far as the impact that had on breaking this case as quickly as it did.
Can you specify where he found the vehicle in the images? What road he was traveling on?
My understanding is that this was a toll camera at the Midpoint Bridge on the inbound lanes to Cape Coral yesterday morning. I don't have a specific lane or specific time of day that the vehicle came into the Cape, though.
So would this toll worker have seen the car coming into Cape Coral or out of Cape Coral after the crime had occurred?
The toll worker located a vehicle that matched the description inbound into Cape Coral sometime in the morning prior to when this incident occurred. At that point, he obtained the tag number because the outbound lanes don't have the tag camera. So you are looking for, at that point in the outbound lanes, you're looking for vehicle description and hopefully driver description if you can get one. As you saw from the cameras yesterday, we really weren't able to get a great shot of what the driver would look like from inside of those cameras. We had to get that from the racetrack cameras themselves. So the toll worker made the point of looking at cars coming into Cape Coral ahead of time, or before the incident actually occurred.
That's surprising dedication.
Well, that is, like I said, Corporal Satterley couldn't have been more pleased with the initiative this person took and gives a lot of credit to this toll worker for giving us the break in this case. It could have been anyone who did it, but it was somebody who really took it upon themselves to put themselves out and do what they could to help.
Besides the tip from the toll worker, you said you had lots of other tips coming in. Anything else that you think could have led you to Gray in the end?
It's possible. I'd have to go over those tips and see what the specific content was. We also were very fortunate, and as you all saw yesterday with the coverage, we had pretty good still images. Not great, but pretty good. And we had outstanding eyewitnesses who were able to provide us almost spot-on physical description of the driver. And once we were able to compare their physical description to what we saw in the images, that really helped us get that message out, the correct message out right away. And that was due in no small part, again, to those citizens stepping forward yesterday.
I noticed yesterday that your flow of information was really quick after the accident, the crash. Can you explain why your department thought it was better to get the information out
Well,
quicker?
what we were doing yesterday when we were notified, when my office was notified of the scene, I went to the scene itself. And I spoke initially with the major crash investigator, and I gave a short briefing to press on scene. That was the most fresh, most recent information that we had. We also utilized our Ping 4 alert system, and that's a mobile application that allows us to send hyperlocal emergency alerts to citizens. And we were able to get that information out to almost 3,000 people immediately, straight to their mobile devices. Once I did that, I got an update right there at the scene from the major crash investigator that updated us about some distinguishing characteristics on the truck. That was important information to make that blue truck stand out in Southwest Florida rush hour traffic. So it was important for us to stop that alert, update the news release, and get that information out to all of you. So as soon as we were getting these bits of information, because this was a relatively fresh crime scene, And we have a person who's highly mobile in a vehicle, could potentially leave the area. We wanted to get as much information out in front of as many eyeballs as possible. And we also knew that we were coming up against your broadcast times, so we wanted to get as much to you before you went live on the air.
Thanks.
What else?
Is a toll worker a Cape Coral employee or?
That would be a Lee County employee.
Okay.
Once the case has moved through the courts, we're going to release more information as far as the identity of that person goes. And I believe that even Corporal Satterley wants to put him in for an award because it was just such great work. So we'll get more information on that later on. Anything else, guys? Thank you all very much for coming. If you have any additional questions, the probable cause affidavit and arrests report will be available tomorrow. You may request that at ccpdreports@capecoral.net. For those of you joining us on Periscope, thank you very much for joining us here. My name is Detective Sergeant Dana Costin, signing off for the Cape Coral Police Department.